if you're a fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, then you're going to love this episode, in which we're going to cover the 4 states of being, the 4 physical states of being, and how when you align these 4 and master these 4 and bring them into one unified personal expression or one state of being, you become all-powerful as a magnetic manifester or magnetic instrument for living out your desires fulfilled on a moment-to-moment, day-by-day basis. So let's dive in and explore this subject. Hello and welcome to the High Performance Consciousness Podcast. My name is Matthew Paddy and I am your host for today's episode as well. So this is a very exciting subject because a lot of my clients actually are great fans of Dr. Joe Dispenza and have immersed in his work for a number of years. And the reason that I feel humbled and get the privilege to work with these people is, I guess, because they are looking for tangibility. They're looking for access to someone who does understand Joe's work and understand how to apply it specifically to one's life to drastically change, radically shift their reality. So if you are aware of Dr. Joe Dispenza, then you're going to love it, like I said. If you are not already aware of Dr. Joe Dispenza, then look him up. He is very well known, has a number of incredible books, very well supported research, and a very, very strong, beautiful community around the world. So in the work that is supported by Joe and many masters that have come before, it has been about the 4 states of potential, the 4 states of realization or realized states. Now, for you to focus on raising your potential and actualizing, becoming self-actualized, knowing that what you want wants you, and whether it is overcoming sickness, overcoming financial stress, whether it's growing your business, whether it's enhancing your relationships, whatever it is, then the first state, physical state, is to be seated. And quite often there will be a seated meditation. You will be seated so that you are upright and aware to do the blessing of the energy centers, which is Joe is famous for. So being seated allows you to be upright and allows you to engage the vertical transformation that occurs with practice of moving your cerebral spinal fluid from your tailbone into your brain. So as you do these breathing exercises and you contract these centers and you focus on each center and its surrounds at one at a time, you are raising the frequency within the body. You are moving the cerebral spinal fluid, which is the life-giving fluid. You are moving that upwards in the spine. You are moving it upwards and ascending in your potential. So a lot of the focus in the breathing work, and why some people, or a lot of people actually at the beginning find it quite difficult, is because the 3 lower energy centers, the lower 3, tend to trap a lot of energy. They trap a lot of density. They trap a lot of debris, a lot of hurt and suffering and pain and guilt and shame and suffering. They trap the past. So the lower 3 energy centers typify the animalistic expression of the body in the human. And once you move the energy, you're moving the cerebral spinal fluid. You're raising and ascending the energy in the body into the heart. Then the heart becomes the super gateway. And the gateway that then moves the energy upwards from the heart into the throat, into the third eye, into the crown, and then beyond into the field. So the first state is seated so that you can be aware of your body, so that you don't fall unconscious. So being seated and going through your guided processes, as I've taken you through throughout these episodes, is to be aware that you are aware, so that you can be upright and you can use your body as an instrument of consciousness, use your body as an instrument for evolution, use your body as an instrument for change by engaging in it willfully and consciously at the level of physicality. Yeah, lots of Ali's words there, right? So really, you can be seated and you could fall asleep during a meditation. You could be seated and get uncomfortable. You could be seated and go unconscious mentally because you wander and waft off with other thoughts. This is why practice is important. So if you can master the seated, and then you can go to reclined. And typically I do reclined rather than lying flat, which you can do as well, where now you're changing the physical representation of your body and the physical location of your body in space. So now it's not upright, it's horizontal. You can carry that same frequency and assume your desires fulfilled, running through the pattern of your preferred reality in a new state, which is lying down, placing your body at rest. So you do the work seated, and then you do the work consciously in a reclined or horizontal fashion. So there's two aspects of mastery. There's two states that you are working to master so that you don't go unconscious in either of those. And when you can string the seated with the horizontal or the reclined with the next one, which is standing, now I've moved my body from a seated to a horizontal to a vertical standing. I'm using muscles, I'm using structural integrity within my muscles, bones, ligaments, and tissue. And I'm standing in my new reality. I'm standing in the shoes of my new state of being. I am standing as new. I have risen. Okay? So I've gone from seated to lying down to standing. That is the third state to master. To stand in the full and the fullest expression of your desires fulfilled, so that you have become that which you felt you wanted to be, meaning that what was there as a dream, an intention, is now here, expressed firmly and confidently, affirmed in your body. You are standing in the shoes of your new self, your new identity. And now the fourth state, which is walking. So now you are walking through the world as new, as a risen being, as a new identity. And so when you can string these four states together, you complete the mastery circuit within this desired outcome. Your desires can change, your fulfillment and intentions may change as you get better and stronger with this. All of these four states are muscles to build. All of these four states are, in a way, examinations to pass. And it's not a pass or fail. Let me put it that way. It's actually a journey. The seated is a journey. To master the seated, then to master the reclined, then to master the standing, then to master the walking. And as you bring those four states together, you complete the circuit. And as you complete the circuit, you are now the living, breathing embodiment of your desires fulfilled. Now, what you want now is. What you once desired has already been fulfilled and now is. Who you wanted to become has now been fulfilled, and now you are that which you once sought to be. Does that make sense? So, although you think, well, how much time is this going to take? It's irrelevant. Time is irrelevant if the burning desire exists at the beginning and you have reached a point where you must engage change. You want change. You want transformation. You want to create a new reality for yourself. You want to experience life differently, and it may be reflected in certain aspects of your life. When you are truly ready, you will move from a lukewarm state, which I've mentioned in previous episodes, to a hot, burning state. So you can either be cold and not switched on, not turned on, not fulfilled by the idea or not excited by the idea of this desire. It's irrelevant. Leave it alone. If you're cold, it doesn't interest you. If you're burning hot, then you give it attention. And so as you give it attention, you are essentially giving the cosmos, giving the quantum field, giving the infinite intelligence new language, new instructions that you're ready. You're ready to take on the four-part journey. The four-part journey of walking and living and expressing yourself through your highest potential as an infinite being of light. Okay? So there's always a lot of questions around Joe's work. He is best to answer those himself. When it boils down to the fundamentals, it all comes down to moving energy in the body, moving any density in the body that is keeping you in a survival frequency, keeping you in the animalistic mind, which is in the lower 3 energy centers. So that in the language that I've used in previous podcasts, we can move from the animalistic mind to the angelic mind. We can move from the human mind to the superhuman mind. Moving from lower potential to higher potential. Moving from density to clarity, or density to freedom. Okay? So practice the seated and then practice the reclined, and they tend to work tandemly. So the encouragement there is to focus your your attention and energy on the state of being that is preferred. You must at the beginning do the work. Well, you're doing the work the whole way through, but it seems like it gets easier. There will be a switch that is flicked at some point in an undetermined future moment where it just drops in and you go, I feel that was a great meditation. I feel that was a great practice. I now know within my deep awareness of self that I am on the right path, or I have sensed a shift in my potential, in my awareness of self, and therefore are now observing a change in my outside world. Because you will come into contact and face-to-face with potential challenges at the beginning, which may be, I have to move this mountain, and maybe there's 3 mountains. There's rubble at the base of those 3 mountains in the first 3 lower energy centers. And it requires a lot of attention, a lot of effort, a lot of focus, a lot of mobilizing or movement of energy. My body is going to want to repel and reject and resist and fight back because the body is addicted to the past. It is asking to be trained and nurtured into a new future, into a new state of being. And it must be given consistent, focused attention in order to help it build the bridge, the quantum bridge between what was and what will be as your intention. So as we raise our awareness of self, then as the density is burning off, we will see evidence of it outside. And at the beginning, like I said, it may feel like nothing's happening. But persist anyway. Persist until the outside world reflects back to you that which you have already affirmed in the self through your practice. That new state of being, that new frequency, that new current of potential, of possibility. And as you look at the outside world, you are looking for change. And as you observe other people in the world of objects and things, other circumstances, events, as changed, you are in the process of change. So if you see no change occurring outside of you, are you looking hard enough? Are you looking too hard? Maybe that's your disadvantage. Maybe that's working against you. So for change to occur outside of you, it must first occur within. And it must first occur through what feels like and is work. Change does not occur easily for most people. When you have arrived at that point where it must happen, a change must occur. You don't necessarily know what it needs to look like. Maybe you want to upgrade your whole physiology so that you are no longer experiencing this chronic health issue. And so until you come to that point of awareness that says, I want to change, I can see what potential exists outside. You may not be able to locate what the actual outcome looks like, but you can maybe use your imagination to dream about what life would be like, to be vibrant, whole, happy, healthy, energized, walking freely. So now we are using this work to maximize our potential. We're raising the bar, we're raising our conscious ocean, and we're using the practice of seated and then lying, where you can reaffirm that which you've already experienced and worked for in your seated. You're now reaffirming it in a relaxed state where your body is offline. Your body is no longer using the muscles to hold you up in a vertical seated position. It's now rested. And now you move beyond the finite. You move beyond the five senses. You are moving into the field, into the unknown, into the infinity and the possibility that exists as the field. So your body goes offline, you relax, and you allow yourself to expand into a state larger than the concept of self, or the previous concept of self, the previous identity. Because whilst I can feel my body, and and give meaning to those feelings, I've got pain here, that means this, or that reminds me of that when that happened, or this is how I feel, whether it's sad or anguish or resentment or depression, whatever it may be, or anxious or stressed. Whilst I'm feeling those feelings and staying in those without the awareness that they are not you, you remain fine-tuned or quarantined, trapped, imprisoned by that state. So we go to a reclined state and we use the expandedness of our body going offline. So we can't feel our body now. We are so relaxed and we are consciously aware. We are aware that we are aware. And maybe we are so deep we've moved down beyond alpha in a brainwave state, we are now into theta. And for some, maybe down deeper into gamma. And we are aware of impulses, of new experiences, new horizons. There are strings of events and sensations that are occurring, and yet there's nothing. There is no thing binding you to any physical contract. There is no thing binding you to any physical instrument. There is no thing binding you to any particular time. So I've made reference to that in the earlier episodes: body, time, and environment. Moving beyond the body, time, and environment, and most importantly, moving beyond the old concept of self, that you are finite, that you are a single, imprisoned, as it were, identity. You are a fixed identity. And so that is quite often a common misnomer, and it's a broken argument. It's a broken conversation that who I am is who I've always been, therefore it is who I am always going to be. You are greater than the limited self. You are greater than the five senses. You are greater than the physical body. You are greater than the concept of self you now have or previously had. And so as we go from a seated to a lying, we now expand ourselves and we allow our body to go offline. And now as we stand and we practice in another moment in time, standing in the fulfillment of my desires, standing as the truest, fullest expression of my desires fulfilled right now, standing as my new self. And now as I open my eyes, I look upon the world as new because I am new. And as I look upon the world as new, I am looking for changes, for differences, and observing how I am expressing myself in the world and how the effects are then showing up as a result of my cause. I am the causative substance. That which is outside of me is the effect of my thinking, of my being. And then now you are moving through the world, the physical world, not as an automaton, not as an automation, not as a programmed autopilot human being. Now I am walking in the footsteps of my own highest potential. And as I walk in the footsteps of my own highest potential, those of which have already been laid before me by my future self or my new self, my higher self, I'm helping other people to do the same. So I become an expression of what is possible for others. And as I live and breathe and continue to embody this new state, I now become an instrument of change for other people. Not through your words or your deeds, through your being, through your expressed state of being and your new state of awareness as your new self. So I hope this has been of interest to you, this podcast or this episode. I'd love your feedback on this. And like I said, if you haven't engaged Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, I highly encourage you to engage it. It's phenomenal. It brings together so many facets from science and mysticism, super, super practical and very much needed to help the planetary process continue to awaken. So from me here to wherever you are in the cosmos, dream a better dream, seated, lying, standing, and walking. See you in the field.